I sit on the bed again. I slept like a dog last night, not bad at all, but when you wake up and go back to sleep and wake up and go back for hours, you end up dreaming like a dog, only on the surface. What do I know, though? I haven't transformed into a dog yet. So the voice started earlier today. I was walking back from the store at about 1 in the middle of the night and thinking of the feedback I got. I didn't feel like writing all that much, but the little desire that I did have overcame. I remember standing in front of the elevator and the voice cracking a joke about, isn't there supposed to be 3 days before you call someone after a first date? Give a weird brain blob that looks like an amoeba or a brain cancer in your mind, some secrets. Then an image of a tentacle monster, a cross between Japanese hentai and Dungeons and Dragons beholder in a towel shooing me out of the space, made me giggle. But reality is that there are so few privacy points working like this, but there are some. There is always the option to push the other out of the mind and into an external, to in essence make the other one possess something like a stone and be done. Are we ready to continue? The voice says calmly, though there is a hint of sadness from some feedback. Yeah, sure. Mind if we go through the questions and comments and you give some response to them? It turns into a reptilian woman and looks down for a moment, then perks up and smiles and says, "It was good feedback though, at least I wasn't the spawn of the dark one this time." She turns into a dark fog beast from classical art, the type with tendrils and a gaping vacuum and a sense of horror. Though the emotions it would usually evoke are quite subdued, it feels almost like a warm, dirty cloth when you're freezing in winter. Appreciated. I laugh at the image and she smiles and remorphs into the lizard lady, though she alternates between this lizard look and the look of a young man with black hair and almost albino skin. Both forms betray a lack of physical activity and experiences of harm. So what do you say to the response that I did not challenge you when you appeared? I say, I fully understand it, but it is strange nonetheless. Would you challenge a friend who knocks on your door to prove they are them? How would you even challenge sending me the love of Christ or something like that? It seems counterintuitive. What if everyone who visited you would need to walk through the microwave? There might be some cause for you to, with such, feel like a microwave is then turned onto you. But I say too much. Suffice it to say, I trust the system we have built. I know your guardians well and know that they would hurt me were I to step out of my guide role randomly, much as I, for a moment, speculated about the visitor last time. So perhaps the greatest worry is not in challenging every guest to your house, but rather making sure the inhabitants do not burn it down. I nod. It makes sense. I have for a while now not been interested in challenging my imagination or guides, no matter how you see them. Being confrontational and doing what is in the religion of this particular activity called bidding is, to me, an activity too hostile. To figure out who a spirit is for true is to control them. I need no control like that upon my guidance. They guide, I listen or not. It's up to the balance, not some magical control words. I ponder its words for a while. I know it is fully capable of lying, both by design and omission, and of giving out bad advice, but about its true nature it rarely lies. It is an aspect of the shadow self, an immortal, if you will. What do you say to the comment that the immersion in the words was strong, and it was easy to picture what was being shown? I would say that it is much as you surmised, that an aspect of dream is being played out, and thus the words are, in a way, like dream and easy to see, though this is as much on you as it is on me. Just that pure purity never responds. With that, I nod and we're ready to continue. Last time we went back to the 16th or so century and took a look at one of the dreams we're building of a unified Scandinavia that becomes like America was meant to be, a land of hope and promise for the weary masses of the world. Then we went into the far future to see what such a world would generate. The results were much as I've seen with my own eyes, the calm rule of the thoughtful and elite leads at best to a world of purgatory, lacking love, lacking life, but there is no suffering, at best a mild sense of something amiss. On one hand, the thought of immortality like that is striking. The music it produced in its short time in reality is thus far quite striking. Perhaps the step now, based on the motions, drives, and, in the least, the words of the musicians, is to learn that your paradise is not everyone's paradise. That the grass must grow, expand, wither, and pass beyond. It is in its life. But is it in the life of the sparrow? Is it in the life of the dove and the cow and the pig if they are called to vote? I find myself debating this and see time pass. Hours, days. The sun flies by my window and I see snow, then rain, then summer, then snow again. The seasons repeat, their fast pace comes to a slow after a few passages of winter, and I move from my torpor. That was a debate. I look for the outcome. It seems that the birds chime with more vigor, the cows grunt with more happiness, and I see an ad in a local paper in my mind's eye of a 1,000-year bull. It started to, despite immortality, clearly become bored and yearn for more. So, after the farmer did all he could, the animal became more and more morose. After their best efforts to cheer it up failed, it was ruled that it desires to pass on, and they are auctioning seats for its passing ceremony, as well as the stakes that it will provide. I find this mildly macabre, but I laugh at it, as I often laugh at the weird practices of cultures I do not yet completely internalize. I find myself being reminded of the right to die and how much I oppose it, but, years of being unable to say no to a doctor interaction, despite how much I'd want to, made me realize the value of the right to die movement. That, and, nuclear accidents. So they are sure the animal desires to die. The guide nods. Now the reptilian features are almost indistinguishable from her human looks. She looks like a girl in her 15s, black hair with long white stripes. Still, I see the faint outline of scales on her cheekbones. Richard, the bull we're looking at, has been with this family for 3 generations. The great-grandfather of the family lived 350 years, the grandfather 270 years, the father for 300 years, and he's been under the current owner's care for more than 100. He has so many offspring that he can't tell the rest of his kind from his offspring. And he is starting to feel like the fabled All-Father and just wants to run new again. Perhaps with enough care, they would find what is troubling him. But as far as he cares, it's time to go. I find myself being teary-eyed. The bull notices this even through the thick haze of the dream world. He turns his head to look at me, and I feel the ground shake most strongly. I move to brace myself for the fall, but the shaking stops as abruptly as it started. The bull lets out a little wry smile and puffs a billow of white smoke from its nostrils. I see the face of my father smiling, and the thought of finally he is starting to accept eventuality. And I smile. It is painful to hear one's relatives one no longer sees in the journeys, but it is so needed, a reminder of a home you might never return to. I listen to the musician of this world, the world without involuntary death, for a moment, and it is glorious. I let the notes overtake me, and I see a man working in a factory, toiling away, growing old. The factory changing, a new man walks in, does the same job, slightly different, grows old, and so on. The note is one of constant technical progress. I feel the sadness of the audience. They ask, why does this speak of work? Do we not all know where it ends? Lamentations of the height of man from the Victorian era through the wars to the Cold One. Work, 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 and all you receive is more money for weapons. The audience laments. The note makes them yearn to pluck their eyes out. The player keeps going with a smile. The player plays and occasionally runs, scurries, gallops over the new notes of this world as if to say, they are here, do you hear them yet? Then continues with a mundane note, one of work, of play, of family, of community, of capitalism or socialism. But when he hits those new notes, the audience perks up. Did I hear that? That has not been combined here before, this thought of immortality. this time from the center of immortality, the Christian high notes of paradise. He plays as if to say this, you also know this paradise note. Then the high notes of pleasantness is interrupted by a low rumble of the note of work. The note that was played as the major last time is this time the minor. For there is with this dream work that leads to paradise, and paradise that can be found with work. A crescendo of all the notes fills my ears. Nothing quite like an artist playing a requiem to your work as it's being born. When this story ends, I shall step forward, and I shall strive for that paradise. For one more day for every year you live, eventually it is one more year for every day you live. He says with his notes, perhaps even before the story ends. I sit listening to the artist play his heart and mind out for all to hear. Keep thinking of Richard, the 1,000-year-old bull, finally deciding that his meat is best left for someone else while his mere thought makes the ground shake. Perhaps it's time to begin again at the beginning.